All right.
All
It says
right,
we're live. Let's do this.
let's do this. Good morning, fellow people
It,
on the internet. At least right now it's morning for us.
it is morning. Very early gray morning, but it's morning.
I mean, hey, at least we made it.
We made it. Another day has arrived. The sun is kind of trying to shine as much as it's going to, and that's where we are.
Oh, well, at least we're here and we're together and we're doing this.
We're
This
doing
is
it.
our Leadership for High Performing Organizations Q&A, where we answer all your questions about what our program is, what we're doing together, and maybe share a few nice tips here and there.
We might even answer questions you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, see?
Should we start with introductions of who we are?
I think that's a good idea. And I say ladies first.
No, then I have to behave like a lady, is what you're saying. I am Intro Books. I am originally from the United States, but I currently live in Spain, which might have something to do with why our program is here in Spain. And I run a boutique consulting agency called Agility for All, where we work on leadership, teamwork, and collaboration and ways of working to create safer, more inclusive cultures in the workplace. But over to you.
Over to me. My name is Karim Al-Tifi. I'm originally from Egypt, but been living in the Netherlands for the past 6 years. Grew up exposed to different kinds of cultures and different kinds of ways of life, which drove my focus on diversity and inclusion and helping people work better together. So traditionally, people would say I work in D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what I like to think is that my whole focus is just how can we work better together and be more genuine and authentic at work.
Great. So that
Yeah.
probably leads to the question of why in the heck are the two of us working together?
Well, I think that's actually a funny story because we met through a mutual friend
Mm-hmm.
at her birthday, and I think we just had this moment. We looked at each other from across the room, and we were like, "I get you, you get me." And then that led to a few conversations here and there of, okay, what is it we believe we want to bring to the world? What is it we believe is important? And I think we came into our passion for like helping leaders support their teams to high performance in an ethical, well connected, and inclusive way that feels natural and true to them. And I think that's where this program's all about. And that's what really at the core of our collaboration. And
Yeah,
you
I
bring
think that's
in
it.
yeah, and I think you bring in a lot of your depth of perspective from years working in places like the US government. I bring in a bit of the sort of creative, innovative entrepreneurship side, a lot of academic theory, a lot of systemic change, and then together it just
It
blends
works.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, yeah, it is a very interesting story how we met, especially because I had to basically breeze through the party and breeze back out so that I could catch a train to get home. But our mutual friend was very insistent that we meet, and she was right. We needed to meet and we needed to work together. And those kinds of connections are important. And it is important that we break this stereotype of what leaders think they're supposed to be versus what they need to be in today's culture. And I still hear and see leaders all the time, whether they're standing up in public or it's on social media or just people in my circle who still think that if you're in a leadership position, you have to be infallible. You have to know all the answers. You have to be perfect all the time. And that's not healthy, number one, but it also doesn't create safe, inclusive spaces because you're so busy protecting that idea that you're not seeing what's going on around you. So for me, the program is helping leaders change how they approach leadership, looking at it more from a coaching role and a mentoring role than a task manager role, and creating those spaces where other people can thrive as well. Because at the end of the day, we all want to retire at some point, and those leaders are going to move on, and we need to have other people that are able to step into that role. So for me, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. I think the biggest part of it is dare to be vulnerable, honestly. And leadership is so entrenched in this idea of developing identity and sense making, and then what it means to be a part of the organization, what it means to be following the rules of that organization. Every organization has this set of hidden curriculum sort of rules.
Hmm.
This is what who I need to be. This is what I need to do. So I guess this entire program, at least for me, is designed to empower you to understand those rules and maybe even be brave enough to break a few and then
Right.
figure out how to build proper teams, what are the skill sets you need, and how to make sure that they stay inspired and move forward and create beautiful things. Because ultimately, what you want to do, especially in bigger organizations, is make sure your bottom line keeps growing. Make sure you got to make that money. And we truly believe that you can only do that from a place where your team feels truly supported and empowered. And
Yeah.
I mean, I would say research agrees with us. So we're not completely just sitting here preaching.
No, no, no. We've not come up with little, Indra and Kareem, fairy dust and unicorns. This is actually
Yeah.
supported by research that people thrive and they are innovative and they are, productive when they feel safe and included, when they feel heard.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's all about being seen, heard, and understood. But
Hmm.
also, I feel like in my conversations with leaders, at least, it's always been like we get that, but that sounds very esoteric. So that's why the program is very in depth and also practical. It dives
Yeah,
into different kinds of applications of, okay, how do I have these conversations? How do I manage my stakeholders? How do I navigate the conflict? How do I want to be seen? How do I see myself? And then how can I bring that into a practical action plan which I can take home with me and sort of get the ball rolling?
yeah. And you just described what's included in the program. So, and I think that's important. It's a journey. We start and end in a certain pattern for a reason. So we start with what is leadership? Where did you get this idea of what it is? Like, how are you informed? And what is the role of a leader today in 2024 and beyond? And then, like you said, we move through leaders and their identities, who they want to be, how they want to show up, how they need to show up, the spaces and the systems that they have to work within. Like you said, when can you break out of that? And when do you need to be a supportive part of that system? How do you navigate and negotiate those difficult conversations? And then, like you said, what is a high performing team? How do you keep them motivated? How do you avoid burnout? And then an action plan. I think that's the important part. And that sets us apart from some other programs is, first of all, we're taking you on a journey through self discovery, but also equipping you with the tools and skills that you need in an organization to build the culture that you want, and making sure you understand what today's culture is and what is needed by the workforce. But most importantly, having an action plan so that when you leave, it's not, I tell people, they say, oh, you do training. And I hesitate to use the word training because it implies that somebody shows up for a set period of time and then it's finished. This is beyond that. So at the end of it, we're going to come up with an action plan of what does your next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, what does your journey look like at changing the things that you want to change, whether it be about yourself or within your organization, and then making sure you have that support and the accountability once you leave the program. So I think that's an important difference between some other programs where you're just going and you're going through a workbook and you leave and let's hope you can figure out how to implement it once you get back. We're actually going to work on those strategies and everything we do. I always say my motto is learn, practice, share, ask, and grow. They're going to learn, they're going to practice it, they're going to have ways, ask questions, they're going to have ways to be able to implement every single thing that we give them from the moment that they learn about it. And I think that's important.
I completely agree. And I think it's always about planting seeds. And while we also focus, like Indra said, on that practical side of it, of the application, ultimately, it's also about empowering you with skills to be more reflective, to be more connected, to be more aware and understand your system, because that's what systems thinking and systems change is all about. And that's
Mhm.
why we've agreed that this program is both for new leaders that sort of need a 101, how can I move forward, how can I make sure my team is in the right space, but also for experienced veterans who can bring in their stories and their experiences to the table so that we can sort of create this safe mentorship space and keep it moving together, because there's all kinds of experience across the board. And there's also lots of research on ideas like reverse mentoring. So basically, you've got the seasoned side with their experience, bringing in an added flavor to the team, and then the young people with their innovative approaches and their uniqueness and their sort of fresh, let's go attitude to help this entire thing come together. And that's what I think is really special because I myself have often been the odd one out in different trainings. You enter trainings filled with people who've been doing leadership for 20 years and trying to figure out what they do. But it is precisely in those environments that I've learned so much, but also people have told me they've learned so much from me. So that was really important to me coming into this as sort of an added benefit of this kind of program.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the reasons also that we decided to keep it small, because we want to build those relationships and those support systems. And also for us as coaches, be able to have one on ones with people when they need it, if they need to work through a very specific challenge or opportunity on their own that they don't want to share with the group. So we don't want to pack a room full of people. We want to be able to build quality experiences with a small group of people, and I think that's really important, and probably a good segue into, great, so how's this thing structured? What does the program look like? So we have all of the information on the website, and we'll share that link with you at the end. But just to walk through it, because sometimes hearing it is better than reading it. It goes from Sunday through Saturday, and Sunday is just a welcome. So it's, arrive, get settled, figure out how things are going to work. And then Monday and Tuesday, we have full days of instruction and practice and coaching we use a very Spanish schedule. So in the morning, we have time for, breakfast, coffee, workout, relax, reflect, whatever you want to do. So we don't start before 9 or 9:30 intentionally. We don't need to be up with the chickens, doing, work at 7 in the morning. So we start at 9 or 9:30. Then we have a 2-hour lunch break in the afternoon, not because we're going to sit around and eat for 2 hours, but just so you have that mental break and you can go off and do that reflection if you need it. And then we're going to come back for a few hours in the afternoon. In the evenings, we will have optional activities that you can join for bonus sessions and enhancements, and then we'll have dinner together. And that's Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we don't have any instruction time planned. We will be giving you a reflective exercise to do on your own, but it's going to be your day out in the local community to do what you want. If you want to go on a sightseeing tour, you want to just hang out by yourself on the beach, or you want to go on a hike to see a castle, we have lots of different options and opportunities for you to do. And then Thursday and Friday, we go back to the full program. And we have a farewell dinner on Friday night. And Saturday morning, you have breakfast and you're off to the airport or your next port of call. So it's intentionally structured with time when we're all together for instruction, and then time when you're off working on your own on specific tasks that you want to work on.
Yeah, and I think what's really important about that is that it's designed for you to pace yourself. And we really didn't want it to be this kind of program where we plastered so much content into it that you walk out with a headache every day and are like, okay, I can't really think through this. So we've tried our best to keep it as balanced as we can so that you have the moment and the time to actually take a second, reflect on what we talked about, what we thought was really important to bring to the table, and then also come to us with your questions, your concerns, your key challenges, as Indra said. So we made sure that we had the time for you. But
Mm-hmm.
that also brings us to an important point of like, why Spain? Why did you want to do it there? And I think for me, it's the question of experiential learning. And I mean, it's one thing to do a long term online program, which is also something we consider on different possibilities. But if you really want to get that sort of condensed dose of something that you want to apply right away, uh, again, leaning on research, it's been shown that you get to learn more if you're able to detach from your current context,
Yeah.
because then you're forming new memories in new spaces and are left free of distractions of the office meetings and the meetings with the manager and the meetings with leadership. You get to take that moment and really focus on yourself. And I think that's what's really special. And I mean, to be fair, who doesn't want to go to Spain and get some sun? I mean, I know I wanna.
Well, now you just put pressure on me, as I just said it was gray this morning to have sun when everybody shows up. No, so I mean, obviously, selfishly, having it here in my own community is, important for me as well, because I want to give back to the community that I live in. And we do try to use, as many 0 to 3 kilometer restaurants and options for food. We try to use local resources, can create as much sustainability as we can. Once you're here, we know that environmentally you have to travel, and that's an issue, but we want to be as sustainable as possible once we get here with, how we put our practices together and use local vendors and local community experts for the parts of the program that revolve around Spain. And, yes, who doesn't want to come to a place that's on the beach, so, and get the sunshine. Hopefully in October we will have that sunshine. But also, like you said, it's that disconnect time. I have people ask me, well, can't you just come to our office and do the program? Okay, well, can or can't, those aren't the right words, because yes, I'm capable of getting on a plane and coming to your office. But like you said, you don't disconnect if you're only, 10 meters away from the phone, the computer, the people wanting your time, the meeting schedule, the beeping alerts, and everything else. And we really encourage people to just put that out of office on and really disconnect from the day to day. Because let's face it, if you are a leader and you can't leave the office for a week, that's a topic we need to discuss. During that week, why is it that you can't be out of the office for a week without things falling apart? And that's something we run. But creating that space for people to really disconnect from the day to day and reconnect with themselves and who they want to be as leaders, it was really important when we were putting this program together. And having that intensive time together, not intensive in the we're doing a forced march through a workbook and getting to the end of it, but that intensive time of being really able to focus on you and what you need as a leader. And we do have time built in for group coaching sessions where the group will decide what we discuss and what we work on. And that's intentional, because our best efforts at making sure we cover everything that you need to know, it's still only a week. And there might be something that in that moment for the group is more important that you need to focus on. So we have that extra time built in for those moments where the group drives the conversation instead of us, to make sure we are tackling the things that people need to tackle. But yeah, so Spain selfishly because I live here, and Spain because it's a good way to embrace the Spanish culture of, work to live, not live to work.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. But what I really appreciated what we just said, Indra, is that ultimately it's a partnership. And that's what we're hoping to create with you, is that space for partnership where you come, spend time with us, tell us about your issues, tell us about your challenges, because ultimately what we both want to do is hold that space for you and facilitate your growth journey. But we can't do that if you don't tell us what you're going through, if you don't tell us what you find difficult, what you're really struggling with. That is the best way we could be there for you. So that's why we intentionally created these moments. And of course, while we're there, while you guys are out enjoying your moments and getting your nice lunch and doing that, we're always working behind the scenes, trying to be adaptive and adding things. So we'll have our ears to the ground and then are always ready to give you what you need based off of the input you gave us.
Yeah, I mean, because we take our own medicine, don't we? If
Yeah.
change is needed, if we need to adapt, if we're inspecting and adapting, then that's what we do. And there's nothing wrong with, if there's a more emerging issue that we need to cover, saying, you know what, we're going to shelf this activity. It's here in the portal, on the online portal, because we do have an online portal, and you can go through it on your own. But we feel that this time is more important to use for this other thing that has surfaced. And that's the beauty of having everybody together in such a flexible space, that we can do that.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. And that's to me what a good program is. It's that balance of, we have these pillars that we really want to cover, this that practical element and this sort of pathway, but also the ability to chart your own path, as I believe any leader should. We're all
Mhm.
different kinds of people, and we bring different kinds of opportunities to this space, different kinds of skill sets, different kinds of strong suits.
Mhm.
And I don't think we'd be good coaches if we didn't have a program that accommodated for that in some way or another.
Yeah, and I think you and I both have been to programs where it's like, nope, the break is over. Nope, now it's time to get to this chapter. Oh, no, page 54 in the book. And that's not, all that means is that in a set amount of time, you're going through a workbook or a notebook, and I know, I've done it, frantically scribbling notes in the notebook because I don't want to miss a point. I don't want to lose a piece of information. And then what happens with that notebook at the end of the class? At best, it goes on a bookshelf, and you don't open it. And we don't want that to happen. We're going to give you tools to capture information. We're going to make it so that you're not having to scribble things down, because that's not how people learn. And we're going to give you the takeaways so that you can just focus on what is happening and have the information available after the fact. But we don't want it to be a forced march through a curriculum, because that's what we're getting paid to do. It is going to be flexible. Obviously, we want to cover those pillars that you need to have. We're not going to throw the entire, program out the window. But if we need to flex at certain points in times, we have the space built into it so that we can do that.
Yeah, and it's really, I think you hit the nail. I think everything we've been talking about here has been about intention, the intention to transform, the intention to create, but also the intention to hold space as best we can. And that's not just going to be us, by the way. Part of this program is also you holding space for one another. And that's
And
something I'm particularly excited to explore.
yeah, and because if you can't practice that, if you cannot hold space for other people, then you're going to have trouble leading in the space we are in right now, in the culture that we have in businesses, because that's a big part of the job, is holding space for other people to be able to bring their ideas forward, to bring their innovation, their productivity, their ideas forward. And that's a big part of being a leader, is knowing when to talk and knowing when to listen.
Yeah, and I mean, we all have our missteps and challenges with that, and it's about finding, again, balance, 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 balance. But
Yes.
in in an effort not to repeat myself, let me bring in a sort of a wild card question, Indra, because maybe we can give them a little bit of a
Oh,
sneak
wild
peek
card.
since we're
Okay.
here.
All right, I'm ready. It's early, but go for it. Bring me the wild
So,
card.
I think maybe how would you feel about giving a couple of tips on what it means to develop a culture of high performance for you, at least?
For me. All right.
Yeah.
So as a leader creating a culture, is that your question?
Yes.
So I think, because I do cover this in my blogs and also in the Wednesday Wisdoms, and how do we work in a high performance culture? How are we leaders in a high performance culture? And it comes down to a few things. And at the top of that is communication. And it is surprising to a lot of people that their communication is not as good as they think it is. So that is something we work on in the program. So communication, clear, concise communication, having a clear vision and mission that is not word salad, that was not created on an AI platform, that actually has meaningful intent behind it, that is actionable. Also having, as a leader, being transparent, being vulnerable, surrounding yourself with people. I always say the definition of a great leader is somebody who surrounds themselves with people who are smarter than they are. Surrounding yourself with powerful people that can help you move the organization forward. And a big one that people miss is having the support systems in place for people to thrive and excel, having training and professional development available, having support systems when people are struggling and need help, knowing that failure is going to happen and having a culture where it's allowed to happen comfortably and used as a learning tool, and just putting those support systems in place so you're not creating a culture of burnout, but you're creating one of motivation. And I think all of those things go into place, and my list goes on and on and on, but I think those are the top ones: having concise communication, knowing what your vision and mission is and how you're going to get there, making sure that you as a leader are being a coach and a mentor who's vulnerable and transparent, and then putting support systems in for people so that they feel safe and included and heard.
See, this is why I love working with you. I just threw a wild card your way, and you just hit it. That's the thing about you, Infra. You always hit the points, and I
I
could
didn't
not.
ramble either. Look at that.
No,
Almost stayed on message the whole time. I didn't even tell a story.
we made it through. We made it
Woohoo!
through. But yeah, since I asked you a wild card question, I think it's only fair that you get to ask me one. So
All right.
lay it on me.
All right. So mine is how, because you like to talk about systems design and systems thinking a lot, and that is a part of our program, but how do you tie systems design or systems thinking to creating inclusive spaces?
I think for me, a big part of that is just developing an understanding of your system. And I mean, I mentioned a bit on this call this idea of hidden curriculum, and that draws a lot from things like critical theory and crypt theory. You exist within a system and are playing within a certain sphere of influence and change. That system has had pre-established rules from before you were there, probably from when the organization was founded, and
Mm-hmm.
had its first team members and its first employees. And there's sort of this unspoken climate that already exists within your system. And to me, creating inclusive spaces is all about understanding what that unspoken climate is, and also figuring out what needs to be changed. How can we move slowly towards that change in a way that is digestible and acceptable to your system? Because if you don't understand things like the change curve and the emotions that happen with change, you can have all the diversity and inclusion policies you want. If you can't get people around you on your side and on your team when it comes to that, that's not going to get you anywhere. So that's really what it boils down to for me, is that awareness and the ability to take that transformation in your hands. Because I don't believe there's a single space on earth that can't become an inclusive space. It's just mostly about understanding how it works and how you can connect with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's really important. I think too many times people don't actually understand the space which in they're operating.
Yeah.
And so the change starts looking like flailing around because you've not taken the time to know the space in which you're working and the people in that space. So I think that's good. I think that's a good way to end. So what do we want people to do next?
I mean, let me
We want them to
see.
go click on the link. Yes, we want you to go to agilityforall.com, Leadership Spain, or you can check both of our profiles out because we have all of that information there. There is a Q&A, and we will put this in the, there is an FAQ. Let me get all my letters right. There is an FAQ, and we will put this Q&A in the FAQ for people that want to watch the replay, and I will also have the transcript typed out so you can read if that's your preferred method of consuming information. And you can always ping either of us if you have questions. I had one yesterday where someone said, but this isn't a program for entrepreneurs. Yes, it is. It's a program for anyone who has to work with other people.
Yes.
Because even if you're a solopreneur, you still work with clients and customers, and you're still working. In fact, as a solopreneur, I would challenge you have more systems that you're part of than if you're working in a big company. And
Oh yeah.
understanding that space is really important. So please don't count yourself out. And if you're not sure if this is the right place for you, ask us, because we are very open and we will not lie to you if we don't think it's a good fit. We will tell you that, and we will guide you to other things that are a better fit. But don't be afraid to ask the question. But go to Leadership Spain and check it out. And hopefully, we'll see you in October.
Yes. And hey, if this doesn't work out for you, if you don't feel this is it for you, that's okay. Share it with a friend. Find the right people. This is all about finding the right community. And I think what me and Indra really value is the importance of that fit. So hopefully it works out for you and it works out for us. But we can't find that out unless we talk together.
Yeah.
So go on the website www.agilityforall/leadership Spain, find out more, reach out to us, and I think we'll be more and more than happy to help you.
Yeah. Yes.
And
And
then
please, again,
oh, we
share.
have a question. It's what days in October?
The 6th through the 12th of October.
6th through the 12th. Second week of October, if I'm not wrong.
That is correct.
Good time to be in Spain. So clear out your schedule, find that budget with from your boss if you have a boss, or from your savings as if you're an entrepreneur, what you want to invest in yourself. Pack up those bags and join us because we will both be waiting
And
for you.
packing your bags is important because we actually have an article on the website as part of the welcome package that tells you how to pack. You don't even have to think about it.
Look at that, rolling out a red carpet, or I don't
We
know
are
what the color
that
in Spanish.
that transparent with information. And if you come, you get to help me start celebrating my 55th birthday early. So who wouldn't want to do that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because Indra's birthday is a really special moment, especially on that 50th. And I mean, I know a lot of people that have been through that. Who wants to leave that lady alone on that such special moment?
All right, so
Uh,
that's enough before we go
yeah.
down the path of who knows what. Go to the website, message us, ask us questions and comments, and join us. But also share, share, share.
Yeah, please do. And with that, we wish you a lovely day and look forward to hearing from you.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.